Hello, my YouTube followers. I'd like to speak to you about one topic that you've probably neglected for a long time. I want to ask you a question. Do you want to be mentally tough? In other words, how much time do you spend training your mind so that your mind can be consistent and better than others? You need a mind that is focused, consistent, and confident. I am Dickson Kechembe, your engineer mentor. Why is this important? First of all, I'd like to remind you that everything that we are going to discuss boils down on one thing, and that one thing is value. You see, if you don't understand value, then you cannot understand the question which we say the why. The why is more important because after the why comes the how. How do you follow up on the how if you don't understand the why? Like most of my students struggle. They're in fields that their parents chose for them, for instance. They never wanted to do electrical engineering. So the why is non-existent. And then when you come to the question, how to achieve that, the determination, the consistency, the dedication to read, to study, isn't there because one component is missing, and that is the why. You see, without understanding the why, it is pointless to follow through your ideas, to follow through your business, to follow through whatever you want to achieve in life, because there's no value attached to that. So this core principle of understanding the why is very critical in everything that you do. To my students especially, you see, you cannot achieve good grades, you cannot achieve much if you don't understand why you're studying, if you don't understand why you're doing what you're doing. If you do not understand why that particular course you chose or that particular field you chose is important to you, if there's no value attached to that particular course, then it loses meaning. The how is going to be difficult. So value, understanding the value of one thing, a value of an item, a value of a decision, a value of your choice is quite important. Increasing your value is in many ways. We will talk about that with time. But one of the things and one of the reasons you have to understand that your value grows depending on what you do, and your value diminishes depending on what you do. For instance, you could take off your clothes and run naked in the streets. You become famous, but with what value are you going to be famous? You'll be famous for running naked. People label you as a mad person. That's going to be your value. But you could do something extraordinary and rewarding, and your value is going to be different. That is the value that you're going to be labeled with. For instance, you succeeded in A, B, C, D, and that value is labeled upon you. Value is in so many different things. We read textbooks, we read other books, we train our mind to increase our value. There's so many things that are beautiful about training your mind. You see, your mind is like a muscle. Without exercising it, it never gains muscle or mass. If you neglect your mind, then you know the natural law which says whatever you don't use, you lose. So if you don't train your mind to practice and be mentally tough, to make decisions, to follow through those decisions, to be dedicated, to be consistent, to have goals and go through all those goals and achieve those goals. And with that mentally tough mind, you can achieve and upgrade your value. Value is what makes you somebody. Without value, you're nobody. But do not get this wrong. Value is not only taken by achieving or acquiring a degree. No. Value is achieved by what your mind can process. That's why we're talking about mentally toughness. If you don't read if you don't exercise your brain, if you don't socialize with the right people, if you don't gain wisdom with the right people, if you don't have a spider web, meaning you've got your spirituality working, you've got your family life working, you've got your personal development working, you've got all these components active and working in your spider web, then you are adding value to yourself. Your conversation or your discussion with somebody will be more pleasing and more interesting because of the value that you have in your mind, because of the training that you've done to your mind. So I want you to start training your mind today. Ask your question, why am I doing this? What is it that I want to change in my life today? What is it that I want to be better at? What is it that I can improve? Where am I lacking in this life? Which section? Spirituality, personal development, health-wise, physical. You have to make a decision and follow through that decision. That is what we call adding value to your life. So you start with these faculties. Health. What is it that you're lacking in health? Do you want to change something? Do you want to improve something? Do you want to perfect something? Then set up goals and follow through those goals. It is pointless to not have the why and do the how. But if you have the why you want to change in that faculty, you understand why, you understand the reasons why it is important for you to follow through, then the how becomes easier because the commitment is going to be easier. You are not forcing yourself, you have a reason behind what you are doing. And that is the most important thing that I want you to focus on. If we talk of personal development, you have to understand, where are you lacking? What is lacking? Where do you need improvement? Where can you improve? If you need to improve on your personal to personal relationship, if you need to improve on your business relationship, what is it that you're lacking? Maybe you need to read a few books that will guide you through. Maybe you need to upgrade your conversation, your negotiation skills. All that requires training. And that training comes down to training your mind. And when you train your mind is going to be tough. The decision that you are going to make, your decision is going to be sealed in your mind. Your mind is going to remind you that this decision we made together and we are going to follow through. And then it's going to be easier because you've got an agreement between you and your mind. You see, I'm trying to separate the mind from you because there may be conflict. You've got certain beliefs that you've grown up with, depending on your culture. Our African culture, for instance, has many advantages and disadvantages, and certain beliefs that you've grown into and grown up with. And those beliefs may be limiting you from taking certain decisions. Certain beliefs, certain cultures have got a certain component of laziness, a certain component of not appreciating certain things. For instance, exercise and maintenance of health, maintenance of mental faculties, where people consider reading a waste of time, people consider exercising a waste of time, but they're not knowing that they are not improving their values. They are losing their mental faculties because of lack of exercising them. They are losing their health because of lack of exercising. You see, everything has to be exercised. So if you don't exercise health, whatever you do, the natural law that I mentioned earlier on is that whatever you don't use, you lose. If you don't use your health properly, you lose it. If you don't use your mental faculties properly, you lose it. If you don't practice a certain skill, it goes, because the receptors in the brain are not firing and they switch off. So it's like a circuit goes off. There's one component in the circuit, so the circuit cannot connect. And an open circuit, For my electrical engineers, you know that current cannot flow through an open circuit. So we need to complete that circuit so that current can flow through that circuit and make our life more valuable. I'm going to give you 2 natural laws that you need to follow. The first one is the law of use. You heard me speak many times. What you don't use, you lose. So you have to use all you got. Use your health. Use your mental faculties. Use everything and do everything to excellence. Try to do as good as you can possibly do. Be the best version of yourself. And that is the law of use. Use everything that you want. So the law of use is very important. The second law that I want you to follow through is the law of sowing and reaping. You see, you cannot reap what you haven't sown. Your brain cannot produce material that you haven't put. So if you don't put right material in your brain, if you don't sow the right material, you harvest the wrong material. So the law of sowing and reaping is very important. But there's a benefit. If you sow good, you reap good. And the beauty with that is that whatever you sow, you don't only reap exactly what you sow, you reap more. So the harvest is more. And that's why the component of sowing and reaping is very important. You have to understand that and use it to your benefit. If you sow bad, you're going to get bad. You cannot plant a mango seed and expect an orange tree. If you plant a mango seed, you get a mango tree. That's the law of sowing and reaping. So, my friends, I want you to sow the right things. Invest into the right things. That includes your physical, that includes your mental faculties, that includes your relationships with other people, that includes your personal development. Invest into the right material. Read the right sources of material that are going to add value to your mental faculties. Thank you.